Have you ever done something kind, not expecting anything in return? What if that one small act changed your entire life? This story isn't about luck, it's about faith, kindness, and how miracles sometimes come disguised as strangers. Watch till the end because you won't believe what happened when the helicopter landed. And if this story touches your heart, make sure to like the video and subscribe for more stories that remind us humanity still exists. It was cold that morning, the kind of cold that seeps through your jacket and sits on your bones. Sarah pulled her scarf tighter as she walked down the street, clutching her bag like it was her last lifeline. Inside that bag were coins, just enough to buy a small cup of coffee before heading to her second job. Her shoes were worn, her gloves were torn, and her spirit, it was holding on by a thread. She was a single mom, raising her 7-year-old son, Ethan, all on her own after her husband left years ago. He didn't even say goodbye, just walked out one day, leaving behind debts, heartbreak, and a woman who had to learn how to be both mother and father overnight. Sarah worked at a small diner by day and cleaned offices by night. Every dollar mattered. She skipped meals to make sure Ethan could eat properly, but that morning she just wanted a moment, one small cup of warmth before facing another long day. When she stepped into the cafe, the smell of coffee and baked bread wrapped around her like comfort. She smiled faintly as she approached the counter. That's when she noticed him, an older man, maybe in his late 50s, standing near the counter fumbling through his pockets. His clothes were neat but old. His hands trembled slightly and his eyes carried the tiredness of someone who'd seen too much. "I'm sorry, sir," the barista said impatiently. "We can't serve you if you don't have cash. No card, no coffee." The man's face fell. "I must have left my wallet," he murmured. People in line began to whisper, roll their eyes, and sigh loudly, but Sarah, she saw something else. There was something in his expression, a quiet humility, the same look she sometimes had when asking for a little more time to pay her bills. Without thinking twice, Sarah said softly, "I'll pay for his coffee." The man turned, startled. "Oh no, please, you don't have to." "It's okay," she said, handing the cashier a few coins. "Everyone deserves a warm drink on a cold morning." The man hesitated, then smiled, a smile that somehow lit the entire place. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You've no idea what this means." Sarah nodded, took her small cup and sat by the window. She didn't think much of it. To her, it was just a small act of kindness. But the man, he didn't stop looking at her as she left. That night, Sarah came home exhausted. Ethan was waiting with his school books spread across the kitchen table. "Mom, did you eat?" he asked. She lied and said yes. She tucked him into bed, kissed his forehead, and whispered, "One day, baby, things will get better, I promise." But as she lay in bed later, she wondered if that was true. Her rent was overdue. Her electricity bill was due in 2 days. Her car had stopped working again. She wanted to believe, but hope felt like a luxury she couldn't afford. The next morning, Sarah was woken by a strange sound. It wasn't her alarm. It wasn't the traffic outside. It was a roaring sound coming from above. She ran to the window, her heart pounding. A helicopter, an actual helicopter, was descending in the empty field across from her small house. The entire neighborhood started coming out, eyes wide, whispering. Sarah grabbed Ethan's hand and stepped outside, confused and terrified. The helicopter landed softly and out stepped a man in a dark suit holding a briefcase. He walked straight toward her. "Miss Sarah Williams?" he asked. Sarah nodded slowly. "Why, yes. I'm here on behalf of Mr. Richard Hale," the man said, smiling. "He asked me to deliver something to you personally." "Who?" she asked, completely lost. The man opened the briefcase and handed her an envelope. Inside was a letter, neatly written, with the same calm tone she remembered from the cafe. "Dear Sarah, you don't know me, but yesterday you showed me something the world rarely gives anymore: kindness with no expectation. I was that stranger you bought coffee for. What you didn't know is I wasn't lost. I was looking. I'm the founder of Hale Industries, and I was passing through the city quietly, hopping to remember what truly matters. You reminded me. Enclosed is a small token of gratitude. I believe people like you deserve more than just thanks. You deserve a chance. Richard Hale." Sarah looked up in shock. The man handed her another envelope, this one thick, heavy. She opened it with trembling hands. Inside were papers and a check. The papers were for a small house fully paid off just 2 streets away. The check $50,000. Her knees went weak. She couldn't speak. The crowd gasped as she fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. Ethan wrapped his arms around her. "Mom, what's happening?" She could only whisper, "Miracles, baby, miracles are real." That afternoon, the news spread everywhere. The mysterious helicopter, the kind stranger, the struggling single mom. But Richard didn't want fame. He never spoke publicly about it. He just wanted Sarah to know that her small act changed a life just as hers was now changed forever. Months later, Sarah opened a small coffee shop in her new building. She named it Second Chances Cafe. The first thing she did was hang a sign above the counter. "Kindness is never wasted. Sometimes it just takes time to come back to you." And every morning, Sarah offered a free cup of coffee to anyone who couldn't afford one, because she remembered that day, that stranger, and that helicopter that brought not just blessings but faith back into her life. Years passed, and the cafe became a community hub, a place of warmth, hope, and new beginnings. Richard would sometimes visit quietly, sitting in a corner with his coffee, watching Sarah greet customers with the same smile that once saved him. And she would nod at him, grateful, because both of them knew that one cup of coffee had changed everything. So, if you're watching this right now, remember this: kindness costs nothing, but it can mean everything. The world needs more people like Sarah, and maybe the next act of kindness you do could be your own miracle waiting to happen.